to navigate through all our options. Our goals remain consistent throughout, and we wanted to put ourselves in a position to create some long-term sustainability over time, and doing that with a mixture of young players, young veterans, draft picks, some other assets to use to build going forward. We wanted to make sure that we were able to put the wheels in motion to establish a basketball culture that has sticking power, that our fans, our community can relate to, that our team can start to identify with. And we wanted to stay committed to our beliefs in how to make that happen, which we feel is through incremental, methodical decision-making and steps, and not something that happens in one fell swoop. And today, we feel this trade puts us in a position to really start to build the right way, and to build with flexibility and incremental gains, and we're excited about it. Clearly there's a lot of raw emotion that comes with a trade of this magnitude. Anytime you're trading, one of the best players in the league, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when we live in a world of instancy and immediate gratification. But what we're trying to build here, in a lot of ways, is the antithesis of that. And as we went through this, we really challenged ourselves to stay flexible. We challenged ourselves to keep long-term planning at the forefront of anything that we decided to do. And it was time for this organization to move forward. We were able to acquire some hungry, hard-working players who are committed to a team concept, who are committed to trying to play the right way, and really trying to embrace togetherness, toughness, and an identity that we think over time can really set ourselves up in a sustainable way. And really, today was about establishing some avenues that we can create for building future success, and hopefully long-term success that our fans and our community can embrace. Lastly, we want to thank Dwight. I heard a story the other day that he was booed on draft night, and he turned himself into a pretty good basketball player. So we want to thank him and thank him for all he did for the organization. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Okay, if you could wait for a microphone, and please give your name and affiliation, and we'll start with Brian.
Brian Schmitz, Orlando Sentinel. Rob, you guys are taking a lot of heat nationally for this deal. Was there something else, particularly Houston, that was equal to this? What was it about Houston or another deal that just didn't sound right, that this one was the best one?
Yeah, we feel this was the best deal for us, considering the circumstances. We had talked to a lot of teams, as we had said before, when we had these types of conferences the past couple of weeks. There were options that we looked at and explored. There were a lot of permutations of certain things, and at the end of the day, you look at what's available in theory and what's available in reality, and sometimes those two things aren't always the same. And we felt that with all the options we did explore, this was the best one for us.
Mike
Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Rob, what about Philly winds up with Bynum? Why wouldn't the Magic want Bynum just for Dwight head up? And also, when you look at this deal, if you'd waited a little longer, could a better deal have come up? Were you satisfied that this was just going to be the best one?
Yeah, we're satisfied with the decision we made. It was a basketball decision, and we wanted a mixture of a lot of the things that I discussed earlier. We wanted flexibility. We wanted some good young players that can develop with us and start to grow with our team. We wanted to acquire some draft picks that we can utilize to help improve the roster over time. And not going to get into specifics on other players that weren't involved, but I can assure you that we're happy with the net result of this trade.
John Denton, OrlandoMagic.com. Rob, talk about, you're obviously patient and thorough with this deal. Why the timing now? Did you consider waiting longer? Did you consider doing it earlier? Why now?
Yeah, we just considered doing it when it felt right, and that was always the timeline. It was fluid, and we never put any concrete parameters around it. We just wanted to make sure that once we were in a spot that we felt comfortable with and we felt accomplished a lot of our objectives, we pulled the trigger.
Christian Brewer, WFTV. How many times did you feel like you had a deal prior to this one getting close, and how long have the Lakers been a likely destination for Dwight?
You know, we've been in talks with a lot of the same teams for a while, and a lot of times this stuff just takes time and a lot of conversations that have to evolve. But we explored a lot of different things, and we came to the conclusion that this was the best decision for us.
Rob, Mike Simon, Fox 35. Can you assess, two-part question, can you assess next season how far you expect this to take you back, and then in future seasons how far you expect this to take you forward?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that, you know, next season and really subsequent seasons are going to be about getting better every day. It's going to be about really punching the drum on trying to improve individually and as a collective team. That's what it's about. You know, it's about trying to do the best we can, trying to improve internally, trying to develop, and trying to create habits. And from there, we'll continue to find methods to improve the team, and we feel confident that we have a lot of flexibility and some assets to do just that.
Rob, Larry Ridley at West TV. What kind of hope do you give fans that they can cling to about what's around the corner, about better days coming in?
Sure, you know, I think the great thing about this organization, other than the ownership group, is the fan base. The fans are incredibly passionate and they care. They're invested, and our hope is that we'll be able to turn this team and create an identity with this team that our fans can relate to and that our fans can cheer for and be proud of, and they can look forward to guys who are going to bring their hard hats every day and bring an incredible level of effort and intensity and want to be coached by this gentleman right here, and play for each other. That's the biggest thing. Play as a group, play together, and continue to try to improve together.
Josh?
Josh Robbins, Orlando Sentinel. This is for both Rob and Jacque. You both have spent either some time face-to-face with Dwight or over the phone with Dwight over the last few weeks. Why did a trade have to come to this? Why did relations between him and the franchise turn so sour over the last several months?
You know, I'm not really sure. I think that over time, sometimes things don't work out the way everyone hopes, and I think that was probably the case here. And we wish, you know, Dwight the best in his future endeavors.
There's been a lot of speculation, and so let's just ask you directly, how seriously did the Magic consider or attempt to try and mend fences with Dwight and keep him long-term, or attempt to keep him long-term?
You know, we tried to establish a relationship with Dwight that was built on interpersonal exchanges and really more than anything, just a personal touch. That was the starting point, and we always felt like that may evolve in one direction or the other. And while we were working on that, we were working on options that would allow us to make a move that helped our team.
Ping?
David Fingalore, WKMG here in Orlando. Rob, when you guys went out there a couple weeks ago, you and Scott, did you feel at that point that was the turning point where there was no looking back, we got to unload Dwight?
You know what? Honestly, no. I think I said it in the last press conference. That meeting was almost a carbon copy of our first meeting, and that was a checkpoint in the process. And we were continuing to do our work from the day I got here, you know, until today. And we felt right about this decision, and we feel good about it.
Pedro?
Rob, Pedro Silva, Telemundo, Orlando. I understand that you're saying basically this was the best deal at this time, but what do you say to the fans out there that are not agreeing with the fact that they don't think it's the best deal? What can you respond to them?
Well, you know, I think I'd tell them that we didn't make this decision for tomorrow. We didn't make it for this coming season. We made it for a chance to build something and grow something that over time is not only sustainable, but can give us a lot of consistency. So, you know, I understand that the immediate gratification component, that we all live that way. That's our nature to do it. But I think if you're trying to build something that over time has some real sticking power to it, you got to think more long-term than short-term.
Shannon Owens, Orlando Sentinel. This question is for Jacque. It sounds like you guys have a good group of solid, productive role players that can really contribute to the team. Have you guys identified anyone out of the group that you can possibly build around as sort of a face of the franchise? And if not, how important is that in the long-term success?
I totally believe in the dynamic of a team. A group of men that will be in the locker room, I'll be extremely proud of because they want to be there. We talked about that earlier, is that when we start this season, we would have guys who want to be great and want to wear Magic uniforms. And the group of young men that we have on this team right now meet that criteria.
Brian?
It's a question for both Jacque and Rob. The old adage in the NBA is you have to get worse to get better, lottery picks, etc. So how do you go about with a team that has some veterans and you don't want to be in the middle? How do you go about putting that team on the floor together that's competitive but doesn't go crazy enough to ruin the big picture? I know what you're going to say.
What's he going to say?
Every day try to get better.
I think the most important word you said is competitive. So to me, that means competing every single night. I think those are the things that put you in a position to win or lose. You give yourself a chance when you compete. And I think we have a group of men who will compete. I'm not sure who said that old adage that you mentioned, but for me, my thinking is just being consistent. Whatever situation that's presented, that I will be the coach that leads by example. There will be no panic. There will be no chaos. We'll be a team that competes, and that will be the reason why people will enjoy and embrace us.
Mike?
Yeah,
About how it works, the lottery, you get better.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in what you're saying. I think there's some truth in that theory, and what we have to figure out is what's the best course of action to take for us to ultimately become good enough to be good enough, you know, and that's the goal, and we don't have the answers to that right now. We're working on that, and to echo what Jacque said, it's about being consistent. It's about competing. That's step one, and we'll figure out the rest as we go.
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. Rob, you've been on the job, I think 2 months now, and already you've made the biggest trade in franchise history. Are you comfortable and cognizant of the fact that this trade may be how you're judged as the GM of the Orlando Magic, and can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think I would have taken the job if I cared much about public judgment. So our goal is to do what we felt was best for the organization, and this is one day in that process. So we're comfortable with where we're at, and we're excited about moving forward.
Rob, what do you have to say about people that might look at this and say, the rich get richer? The same teams, Miami, LA, Dallas, Boston, the rich get richer. What's wrong with the NBA in this picture?
I think there's just a competitive tide that comes into play when you're dealing with trades and player transactions, and I think in this particular trade that the pieces lined up such that Dwight ended up where he ended up. I don't think it speaks to a competitive balance issue. I think it speaks to there's a puzzle that you have to figure out when there are multiple parties trying to make a trade, and this was a case where the puzzle synced up.
Rob, you got a couple guys that you got in the deal, Al Harrington and Aaron Aflalo. Harrington, the contract, Harrington looks like he's got a 3-year and Aflalo has a 4. Is that correct? And those are fairly long-term contracts. Was that part of the deal? I mean, was that a deal breaker any time? to get back contracts when usually you would like expiring?
You know, we were still able to free up a lot of space, and there are some particulars that we feel give us some flexibility. You know, with Aaron, we're really excited about Aaron. He's a young veteran. He's a guy who's been around for a handful of years, has a lot of experience under his belt, and I think one thing you got to be careful of is bringing in too much youth at once. And we feel Aaron balances that nicely and brings a work ethic and a toughness and a habit to everything that he does that will really spread throughout the rest of the roster. So we're really excited about him.
And Al, will he be with the team at the end of the year?
Absolutely.
Richard?
Richard Bobow, Orlando Business Journal. Rob, you talked about the benefits of having young players and draft picks, and there's a lot of rebuilding being thrown around out there. Can you talk about the opportunity it gives you, I mean, to have these potential picks in the future to kind of create something now and kind of start anew?
Yeah, you know, I think flexibility is an asset in and of itself, and we have some good young players. We have a lot of cap space. We have a big traded player exception that we're able to get out of this deal, and we have some draft picks. So when you mix all that together, you got a chance to improve the team the way you want to improve it, and I think that's an important distinction.
Go ahead, Christian.
Unfortunately, Alex and Dan aren't here to answer this, so I'll have to ask you, is the franchise prepared for the plummeting ticket sales that may result from Dwight no longer being here?
You know, we're prepared for the team to compete really hard and to play as a group and to bring 100% energy and effort each and every night, each and every practice. And we're excited about the type of energy and the type of atmosphere and the type of environment that can be created with that. So are we taking a step back? Absolutely, we are. But we're taking a step back with a vision and some ingredients that we're really comfortable with and encouraged by.
Will it sell tickets?
I think it will.
Rob, you get a number of pieces back in this deal. Obviously, everyone's been looking forward to the Dwight trade being finished, but it seems like this is maybe just the first domino that falls. The coming weeks, months, what's that going to be like for you, possibly continuing to transform what the Magic look like going into next season?
You know, I don't know. There's a chance there could be more dominoes. There's a chance there couldn't be. But, you know, again, to reiterate, we made this decision to give ourselves a lot of flexibility, to give ourselves some good young players and some assets moving forward. And we got to go back to work and figure out now how to plan and architect the vision for getting this team to where we want to get it to.
Go ahead.
Philip Rossman-Reich, OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I guess kind of along that last question, what pieces do you see that this team needs to get the roster where you want it for next season and to set up for the seasons after that, obviously?
Still figuring that out.
Okay.
Still figuring that out. That's not something that if I gave you an answer, it wouldn't be very well thought out. And we got a lot of work to do to figure out what that looks like.
Rob, would any team be concerned about Bynum's physical status?
I'm not sure.
I mean, was Bynum ever on the radar for you guys?
You know, we had a lot of teams on the radar. If we set up a scroll and scroll down all the different guys we were considering at one point.
I mean, particularly him, since it's the Lakers, since it's the Lakers deal.
A lot of Lakers were on the radar.
Kobe.
Kobe was not on the radar.
When sustainable teams are mentioned, the Spurs, the Thunder, the teams that you both have been affiliated with come to mind, and neither of those teams are really associated with making a big splash in free agency aside from retaining their own free agents. Are you opposed to possibly building through free agency, potentially signing a guy to a max deal with some of the cap space you've created?
You know, I think it's a good question, Josh. I think that we're pliable, and we've set ourselves up to look at both avenues, and that was something that's important to us. I don't think you can ever get too parochial and say this is the model we need to subscribe to. So we have a lot of flexibility to build through the draft. We have flexibility to build through free agency. We have flexibility to build through trade. We have flexibility to build through different pieces of each avenue. So yeah, we're open to it.
This question is for both of you gentlemen. Do you feel like there's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders? Do you feel freer today? Are you glad this is all over with, just being honest and real talk?
The honest answer is we feel like we're just getting started, and that's the truth. We got a lot of work ahead of us, and we're excited about it, and we're going to embrace it, and just get back to work.
That was an extremely good answer.
This is for both of you. What is it about Mo Harkless that made him an integral part of this deal?
You know, as we were heading into the draft, Mo was a guy that we targeted and had hoped would make it to where we were picking at 19, and we felt that he has a lottery level capability and talent, and we feel that the type of person he is, the type of dynamic skill set that he has, and the type of potential that he has is something that we're really intrigued with. And we think in the right culture, in the right environment, with the right development scheme, he has a chance to be a pretty good player. We're really excited about Mo.
Jacque, can you address Aaron Aflalo's game? He's kind of an elite defender in the league, and I think he averaged a career high in points this past season. Talk about him as a player.
He's a guy that, two words that come to mind for me, fiber and grit. He's a guy that will be great in the locker room. He will show by example. He has made himself into the player that he is by working extremely hard. I'm a huge fan of his, and really excited to work with him. Really excited.
Okay, time for a couple more. Brian?
Rob, are you looking for another point guard? Yeah, you got one, right?
Yeah.
Apparently Ish might be on the list. Is there another guy? Is he a two? Is he the number 2 guy?
That's a need we'll need to address. We'll need to start working on pronto.
So you could sign a free agent?
Yes.
A street free?
Yes.
Rob and Jacque, have you guys talked to any Magic player on the team right now, Jameer Nelson, Glenn Davis, as far as the whole situation? I'm just curious if you've gotten any reaction from them.
I have not yet up to this point, but we plan to this week. I'm not sure if Jacque has yet.
I haven't either.
Obviously, Dwight heard rumblings that this trade was down the pike. How closely did you guys work with Dan Fagan to facilitate this? And then what kind of conversation, if any, did you have with Dwight to tell him that this was close or imminent?
You know, we worked with Dwight's representation to the extent we felt we needed to. And throughout the process, things were very professional and very businesslike. And for that, you know, we appreciate it. And I think that, you know, in terms of relaying the message to Dwight, we told him, hey, here's what the status is, here's where you're going, and it was pretty short.
Rob, I think it was maybe the last press conference, you said sometimes things can get emotional, and I think emotions have been running high all over Central Florida with this. How many times did you have to step back and try and settle yourself down or realize that this can be an emotional decision?
You know, it's difficult because emotions are part of life, they're part of sports, they're part of really everything. And it was difficult, but we really tried to stay neutral as best we could and say, well, what is it we're really after here? What are we trying to accomplish? Let's remove the emotion, let's remove the 48-hour media blitz, or whatever you want to call it, and let's just make a really good decision that we believe in. And that was the criteria.
Anything else? Josh?
Jacque, where do you stand on filling out an assistant coaching staff?
Still in the process, Josh. We're doing a good job of being patient, and we'll put the right staff together that's meant to be around this ball club.
Have you extended offers yet?
In the process of still gathering all that intel and research, and no rush.
Ryan, last one?
This is for both you guys. Is there anything the league can do to prevent a guy forcing his way out? I mean, obviously, free agency is free agency, but in this case, when Dwight, I mean, literally gives you a demand, what can the league do? Anything? Is there any other kind of compensation? You know, Denver found themselves in the same place. Is there, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, with all due respect, that question's above my pay grade.